All right, hello and welcome into the next edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are sitting here in studio, Token Tony and myself, Aaron, on mics. We are without Spike. He is away for the weekend with his wife, and he said during his time in California he would be knitting it up somewhere. I don't know if that means the poker tables or what.
Hopefully it's not a reference to working with yarn.
I hear there's a good quilting convention in Southern California right now. I wonder if that's what he meant by knitting it up. So
I don't know. Maybe he's trying to...
He's trying to score some brownie points so his wife doesn't quilt their marriage.
Maybe he's trying to build like some mittens or something to cover that beard.
I'm just kidding. And Spike, we are without Spike today, but no matter, we press on. And there is something exciting, though. Today marks the first day of exhibition baseball.
That is true.
We do have spring training games. We have baseball is back, people, and that's exciting. And we have some baseball to talk about today. We also have a bevy of other topics to get through today. We want to thank our sponsors, Chai Poker. You can catch them at chaipoker.net or go on our website and click their links. It's basically a charitable poker site. You know, if you have a big score or want to make a donation, he's doing some pretty good things here in the Las Vegas area, so give him a shout over at Chai Poker.
Yeah, one of my favorite sponsors are volunteer groups that he likes to donate to is Opportunity Village. So
yeah, they're doing big things right now too, also in Vegas. So give them a look over there, give them a shout, make a donation. We would really appreciate it if you tell them we sent you. We also are on the Forward Mile Podcast Network. You can catch them at forwardmile.com. We can also catch us at 12ouncesportsradio.com. Our boys over at 12-Ounce Sports Radio doing big things. Check out 12-Ounce Sports. They're going to be interviewing a lot of NFL up-and-coming draft prospects over the next couple of months leading up to the draft. So check out all the hosts of other shows on 12-Ounce Sports Radio, and you can catch yourself a prospect or two and kind of step into the mind of some of the next stars of today, hopefully, because you never know what you're going to find. I mean, Tom Brady, the 6th-round pick. Some of the guys that they're on there are projected on day 2 draft picks. So it's going to be pretty... It's going to be pretty exciting the next few months over at 12-Ounce Sports Radio, the guys who are they're interviewing over there, so shout out to them.
Yeah, that's what makes like the later rounds interesting to watch, to see who could be very big potential, like deep, like 4th or 7th round picks.
Yeah, because not a lot of guys you're going to know, or maybe you know him because he's played in your conference or on your team.
Yeah.
But a lot of those guys, they don't really show themselves, you know, on draft days because you don't know who they are. A lot of them, because college
and it goes
huge.
A lot quicker. There's a lot more action.
120 teams. There's 100 players on each team. You don't know. You can't. Yeah. There's no way you can know every player in college football. So 12-Ounce Sports Radio is definitely doing big things to, I guess, help you know some more players in college football.
Yeah.
Well, let's before we jump into the college football stuff, like I said, we want to thank the sponsors and everybody who's putting us on the radio. We are eternally grateful. And so let's jump into baseball and the big splash for free agency, because the hot stove was really cold lately. They're starting to warm up with the Darvish signings, etc. But the Sox and J.D. Martinez finally reached an agreement, $110 million over 5. And J.D. Martinez is the newest member of the Fenway Park Monsters. Fenway Park. Shut up. The Boston Red Sox.
The Green Monsters, yeah.
The Fenway Park Green Monsters.
Yeah. No, I think they got him for a decent value price, and he's definitely one of the pieces that they wanted to add to compete with the Yankees. So, yeah,
I mean, the big question is with that crowded outfield, you know, where does he fit in? I mean, I know they need, you know, DH help ever since David Ortiz left, but realistically, I mean, you'd want to slide Hanley in that spot. Mm-hmm. You know, can JD play first? Maybe. Is this enough time to get him
trained for that position?
Yeah, so
I would say probably not, but I could see him being like a flex position, like outfielder, maybe filling in for like first base or something. Or
well, he's not going to play third anymore. I can tell you that, because Devers is just a beast.
Yeah,
they got a young guy who's ready to take the position.
I was thinking that, and I'm like, yeah, that position's filled.
Yeah, so it's realistically an example of, could he? I guess he could platoon realistically. I mean, you got a $20-something million guy platooning, but he's going to play somewhere every day, pretty much.
Yeah.
I can see. I have a hard time believing that they want to move any of the three guys out there, Bradley, Betts, or Benintendi. I mean, Benintendi, I would imagine, is completely off limits.
Yeah.
Betts could fetch a lot of haul, but I think the time to win right now for the Red Sox. I think the time is now for the Red Sox to win.
Oh, absolutely. It's now or never with the...
Because of what the Yankees did as well. So I think we've got to realistically look at, the cards are all on the table. The pitching's really going to be what it's, kind of what carry this team, because the offense is definitely there. I think, looking at it, I'll ask you, when you look at the two complete lineups, Boston and New York, I mean, who do you think's actually the better lineup?
As of average or like...
Just top to bottom of a complete lineup. I mean, I look at this lineup. You have.
I would say top to bottom, the Red Sox are better. But as of slugging percentage and
that's
key
the problem.
players in those,
I've had this
like
conversation
3-4
with
spots.
People.
Yeah,
the three. How do you go wrong with Sanchez, Judge, and Stanton? It's like, that's great. I mean, Stanton hasn't been able to stay healthy a whole season.
Yeah.
Judge strikes out a lot.
Yeah.
And so does Sanchez.
Yeah. They have good slugging percentage, but their on-base percentage is garbage.
I mean, Gregorius had a great year. They're projecting Gregorius to be the cleanup guy. I mean, you got those three guys. I mean, you got, you're going to have, Gardner 1 or Hicks 1, Judge 2, Stanton 3, Gregorius 4, Sanchez 5. It does sound pretty like Murderer's Row-ish, but I look at the lineup top to bottom. I think the Red Sox have overall a better lineup. The only real question mark I have is can Eduardo Nunez repeat what he did last year,
or come close to it? Yeah,
and come close. And when Pedroia comes back, will they move Nunez to shortstop and actually bench Bogarts? Because Bogarts' offense is atrocious. Xander Bogaerts is. I mean, if Nunez is playing like he was last year, I have a feeling Bogaerts is going to be the odd man out in the infield. So it's going to make for an interesting situation. I like the fact that JD Martinez is available, hopefully, to play first, because actually, if he plays first, or if one of those outfielders gets hurt, you could move Martinez to the outfield, move Eduardo Nunez over to first. He played a little first last year, and then just DH Hanley. So I think they've got a lot more flexibility as far as the Red Sox do to do a lot of different things. You got three guys in the outfield right now that could play all three positions, which is awesome. I mean, Benintendi, Betts, and Bradley can all play all the positions. JD can play the corners. And hopefully play first, and Hanley can DH, JD can DH. I think they've got a lot of utility for the guys they have.
A lot of good flex position.
Whereas I feel like personally, Judge is only good in the corners.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Stanton's only good in the corners. Neither of those guys can play center field, in my opinion. So I think that kind of limits them.
They don't have the tracking ability.
I just look at a long season. There's going to be injuries, and I think the Red Sox have the ability to move a lot of guys around. You got Brock Holt, who can play any of those spots, too. Yeah. It's going to come down to the pitching staffs of these two teams for that division, because, let's face it, Toronto, Baltimore, and Tampa have not looked like they're interested in really competing this year.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. It's going to be tough, too, but, I mean, they might get a few W's here and there.
I would imagine they're going to get Tampa Bay is just a fire sale.
Maybe Jameis Winston will join them. They could eat a W.
eat 60... Yeah, they're on track for about 60 wins this year. So
hey, that probably won't be the worst in the league, though.
It'll be pretty bad. Yeah.
It will be probably second worst, but
yeah. Why? Who's going to be the worst? Detroit?
Probably Detroit again.
Even with Miggy, you think they still are just a terrible team?
I think they're going to ship everybody and just sell.
Well, who's going to take Miguel Cabrera unless they're going to keep some of his contract?
I have no idea.
Yeah, nobody's going to take that contract on.
Maybe come trade deadline time, like somebody looking for
LA
a big
or
piece.
something. Yeah. I think with the Bryce Harper looming in free agency, what is Miguel Cabrera's contract status? Because I think that's the key is with all these teams kind of looking at Bryce Harper's impending free agency, no one really wants to take on a contract because Miguel Cabrera was, $30 million? He was like the first $30 million man or something like that?
Yeah, his contract was 8 years, $248, so.
So, yeah, $30+ million.
And the
$31 million, yeah. So how many does he have? When did he sign that?
2014.
Oh, God. So he still has half a contract left.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be hard to move.
Well, actually, 5 years, left on the contract.
That's going to be hard to move $150 million in payroll for any team that's competing and still interested in getting Bryce Harper at that point. So, JD Martinez is 6 days younger than me, and the man's making $110 million.
Yeah. Hey, it was my favorite Tiger when he was with the Tigers.
Yeah.
Actually, the last game I went to, he's smothered a home run about 10 rows right behind me, right over my head.
Initially, as a Sox fan, I wasn't crazy about the signing. But now the more I think about it, the way they can kind of platoon all these guys, it just makes – it's the best thing for a manager, especially a new manager, Cora. It's the best thing for him to have is the ability to put multiple guys in multiple positions on any given day. And that's a big plus for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just something that where everybody could be part of this team, whether it doesn't have to be your main position. It could be something where you're picking it up for the day, giving somebody a day rest. And
well, that's the thing. You can give somebody a rest and not feel like that position took a hit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're not going to lose that defense or offensive behind it.
Yeah, so I think the Red Sox, looking at the lineup top to bottom, I think they ultimately have a better overall lineup from top to bottom. So, yeah, we'll see how it plays because there's going to be a lot of baseball obviously ahead. Baseball's definitely been in the news for a lot of other things recently, most notably the pace of play, obviously, has always been for the last few years, especially under Rob Manfred's watch. And this new proposed rule that's been coming out that the team trailing in the ninth can bat anyone they want.
Yeah, that kind of sounds interesting. I heard the first three batters of that inning could be anybody that they want trailing in the ninth.
So how does that work? Do they just move the lineup around that now? So, like, say 4, 5, and 6 were coming up, and 4, 5, and 6 were X, Y, and Z. And let's just take the Yankees for example, and now they want to move Stanton, Judge, and Sanchez now to 4, 5, and 6 when they were 1, 2, and 3. Now does 4, 5, and 6 become 1, 2, and 3, or how does that?
I'm not sure exactly how that would work.
I know they don't have a lot of. I think they just like to throw up things out there and see what sticks, but it's like,
and then maybe go from details from there. Yeah, it just.
My initial thoughts were, this is crazy. How can you realistically believe that this is a positive solution for the game? But then the more I think about it, I'm like, it is kind of actually the only game where the superstar is not guaranteed to be involved in the clutch moments.
Yeah.
I mean, football, you got the ball in Brady's hand. Mm-hmm. You have basketball, the ball's always going to be in LeBron's hands.
Yeah.
Hockey, you're going to put it in Crosby, Ovechkin, they're going to usually take the shot, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on. But, baseball's not always that way. I mean,
unless maybe it goes into extras or something, you have the perfect.
I mean, you could get lucky to get the perfect lineup situation, but oftentimes, the way I look at it initially is like, okay, what if the guy's got a no hitter going and now he's got to go face, Stanton, Judge, and Sanchez again. It's like
that would make it interesting. But last year there was quite a bit of no hitters that ended in the ninth. So.
But see, is that just the ninth? Like, what happens? Okay, so if the trailing team in the ninth comes up and bats and they're down by 1, they tie it. Well, then the top of the 10th, the Red Sox get a run. Mm-hmm. You get to send up whoever you want in the 10th if you're trailing in the 10th?
I think it only applies to the ninth.
But now you've just completely reset the entire... Like, it's a strategic thing. Now you can reset the entire lineup.
Yeah.
Now the entire lineup's been turned around. It's been shuffled around. I don't know. I have a hard time picking a side on this. I get it,
It would definitely make it interesting. Especially if the game is a one-run game.
Do we really need to cater to a fan when they've got enough fans out there? Do they really need to cater to a fan that is... I don't think this is enough to get them interested. The one inning of batting whoever you want. I don't know. It's just...
It's an interesting idea. It depends how they handle the situation if they do go with this. As somewhat of a baseball fan myself, I look the rules how they are right now. I mean...
Well, of course a purist is going to say that, but I mean... If they're realistically thinking, okay, the old guard, can only be the old guard for so long, and then we've literally lost so much viewership. I mean, they've got to do something to cater to other people that they're not watching the game. But it's like me, like the NBA, like for me, the NBA, like the NBA, all their collective advertising does nothing for me. I'm not watching their sport.
Well, it's all one good player on one team against one good player on another.
It's not even that. I'm just saying they market the demographics and the people that they know are interested in the sport.
Yeah.
And to me, they could throw whatever they want in my face.
I'd rather watch golf.
It's not. It's not. It's just. It's nothing's going to change my mind. I'm not going to watch it. I'm just not interested in the sport. So there are people that just aren't interested in baseball, and I feel like the MLB is trying to poach those people, and it's just like, here's a dead horse.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really feel like sometimes things like this come out. They just leak it that somebody's been discussing it.
Yeah.
And then they just say, hey, okay, let's just float this one out and see how the general public takes to it. I don't think this is legit, to be honest with you.
I don't think either, because if for this one little rule, it's probably going to be about 5 pages long of rules, because
I think it creates such a ripple effect. Okay, now you've tied the game. So are you going to do it in every inning the home team's trailing? How much more home field advantage did you just give home teams?
Oh, significant, especially if it's a one-run game.
So now, is it just either team trailing a ninth? So, like, if the Boston Red Sox are on the road against the Yankees and they're down by 1 in the ninth, they can send whoever?
And then
or is
they
it
go
just
ahead.
the home team, and they go ahead at 1 run, and then now the Yankees can reset?
I think it's either team based on the proposed idea.
That just creates so much chaos. I don't know. It's just, to me, it just seems like...
Or the team that's trailing goes ahead, and those other team get an opportunity to send whoever that they...
I know that I liked the extra innings thing about starting a guy on second base in extra innings.
That is interesting.
I would prefer they start one on first, to be honest with you, so that you force the sacrifice, moving them over. You still have... Because you put a guy on second, first pitch is a single...
it's probably going to be
single through short and third. It's game's over.
Yeah.
Let's talk about... Because I think all this is for... We're talking about the pace of play, but at the same time, we're talking about a way to potentially extend games. It doesn't make sense to me, because they keep saying we want to make the game shorter,
Well, the extra inning thing actually makes sense to shorten it based on...
Well, if you're down by 1, you're setting up your 3 hitters in an attempt to either win the game or get them to extra innings. More often than not, I think you're going to get a team, they're going to go to extra innings, which in the long run creates longer games.
Yes.
So I feel like you're 6 and 1, half dozen the other. You're like, okay, our goal is with these pitch clocks and pace of play, but then we're also sending up whoever we want in the 9th inning in an attempt to either extend games or win games. I just don't see how you're trying to come up with 2 different scenarios on the time of a game. One does one thing complete, and one does one thing complete opposite. I mean, I guess maybe...
Well, it seems like marketing came up with one idea, and the other one was made by, umpires or something. Or
umpires. Yeah. Honestly, let's look at the pace of play, to be honest with you, because my situation, my thought process on it is, I follow the money. Mm-hmm. I think they're attempting to speed up the game, the actual on-the-field game, but I actually believe the time of a game that you sit down from beginning to end to watch it will be about the same. And that's because there's going to be more commercials and more advertising dollars.
Yeah.
So if I can cut a game from 3 hours and 30 minutes to 3 hours and 10 minutes and open up the door of still a 3 hour and 30 minute broadcast with 20 more minutes of commercials, ka-ching.
Oh, yeah. Shit ton of money more coming in for marketing. And
20 minutes of commercials is a big moneymaker. A lot of people,
especially come playoff time.
Well, those Fox Sportses, et cetera, that buy the rights to show these games, they've got to sell the advertising to be able to pay for this, and those 20 minutes are huge.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's the way I initially look at it: is we may cut the game, but the actual broadcast is not going to be any less.
It's going to be the same, yeah.
Right. So, what are your thoughts on kind of? Excuse me. What are your thoughts on kind of this new pitch clock, theories and mentalities, and how they're kind of almost trying to the mound visits, et cetera? They've said that they're going to not implement the pitch clock this year, but the mound visitations, where teams are only allowed 6 mound visits that don't result in pitching changes per game.
I don't think it will change too much, just because you don't see it too often. That
Are we really shortening the game enough to create an actual effect?
But does that only apply to coaches or with catchers too?
It's all. Catchers can't run out there like that. No, the mound visits are just anyone going out to the mound.
Oh, okay. Besides the pitcher.
Yeah, once you have 6 mound visits that don't result in a pitching change. So
interesting.
They actually looked at it in the World Series in Game 7. One of the half-an innings, the Astros, between the coaches and the catcher, went out to the mound 7 times in a half an inning.
Yeah, that's
it does create a problem.
A little ridiculous, but I mean,
on one hand, you're almost impacting the way the game is, because the catchers and the pitchers got to talk, and
well, if there's a guy on second trying to read signs and all that, and
I mean, when I watch a game, I watch as many as I can, especially in the playoffs. Actually, take any sport. When I watch a game, I'm not looking at my watch going, man, this thing's 4 hours long.
Yeah.
Especially in the World Series. Remember the game? I think it was game 4 or 5 where they went it was like 15-14 and they were just back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not looking at my watch. I'm watching the damn game.
Oh, that was actually a pretty interesting game.
The whole World Series was. I mean, if I'm watching a game, if you've got
the last couple World Series have been pretty good.
Yeah, I think you need to focus on, I don't hate the whole trailing in the ninth because it's an attempt to make the game more exciting.
Yes.
Do I like the rule? Do I want to see it implemented as a person who enjoys baseball the way it is?
I do if they have...
No, I don't.
Well, it would be interesting if they do approve it, what supplemental rules they would come up with.
They would have such a ripple effect of rules to continue on to have to write.
Yeah, I said, for one little rule, it would be 5 pages.
Right. I'm all for making the game exciting. I don't know if necessarily speeding the game up makes a difference.
No.
Because you're telling me, people, I want to make the game 3 hours long instead of 4 hours long. It's still not going to make a person who doesn't watch baseball watch baseball.
Yeah.
Maybe making a game more exciting through use of a few rules that don't completely alter the game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would get more viewership and
the runner on first or second, creating excitement in extra innings every single half inning. That's an exciting change that could potentially make the game better. But I mean, if you're telling me, and I'm a millennial and I have no interest in baseball, and you're telling me, oh, we made it 30 minutes shorter so that you wouldn't lose your attention span, I'd be like, I'm still not watching your sport, dude.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, it's a big facade to create more commercials. I really do.
I do agree with that, too.
I really believe if they have a 3 hour, I don't remember exactly what the average time of play is. I'm just using examples out of my mind. But I believe if there's a 3 hour and a half hour average time of play and they can cut that down at 20 minutes, that's just 20 more minutes of advertising revenue that they can bring in. And I have no problem with them doing it the way that they want to do it. But, I mean, let's not sugarcoat it what it is. If you follow the money, that's where I believe it leads. I did have an interesting thought on what the pace of play impact would have on over-unders.
Yeah, I would lean towards games going more over.
Yeah, that's what my thought was too, because you're almost, especially if they institute the pitch clock as well, you're almost rushing pitchers. They can't can't communicate, face to face with their catchers and their coaches.
It's going to be a lot more communication, wild pitches, I think, and all that.
And not even that, just a lot more. If a guy's feeling rushed, he might serve you up a meatball.
Yeah,
I feel like it has an impact on the over in a lot of these games. I mean, pitchers don't like to be rushed. There's some pitchers like Chris Sale and Kershaw, they like to work fast, but a lot of guys don't work that fast.
No, yeah, they like to control the pace of play.
Right. And
average MLB game rose 4.5 minutes to 3 hours, 5 minutes, and 11 seconds.
Okay, so even if they got it down to 3 hours, that's still 5 minutes of commercials.
Yeah.
You don't realize the 30-second spots, that's 10 more advertisements. You know what I'm saying?
I actually thought it was more than that.
I thought it was 3.5 hours, but I think that's
an
NFL game.
Yeah, I thought it was closer to 3 hours, 20 minutes, something around there.
So, yeah, I mean, either way, I mean, even if you make it, because we go to hockey games all the time, hockey games usually average right about 2:30 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And when I watch hockey games, I'm like, man, I wish it was longer.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, because we go at 7 and I work nights, so, I'm out of there by 10, and then I'm down at around my place of business, and I'm like twiddling my thumbs for 2 hours,
Yeah.
I'm like, can we make these games at 7, make them go to 11, and then I don't feel, like I'm
well, the other day it was good to catch the end of the gold medal match between the women.
That was awesome. Yeah, let's flip over. The Olympics are actually winding down here, and let's talk about some things that obviously there was some things. I mean, the Winter Olympics are not going to get as much coverage or talked about, but there were some interesting highlights and lowlights in the Winter Games. What was a highlight for you? Was it the women winning gold?
I believe that was a loss by Canada more than a win by the United States.
Was it? I mean, first off, what are your thoughts on a gold medal match being decided by a shootout?
I hate it.
Hate it?
Hate it.
I don't like it either. I'm okay with the qualifying rounds, the semifinals, et cetera, being qualified for shit. But I think to win that gold, it's last man standing, golden goal.
You play sudden death and you play multiple periods.
You skate out there till one of them goes in. Yeah. I'll never forget the first.
Especially on an Olympic-sized rink. I do like the 4-on-4 overtime.
Did you watch the overtime period? How slow they were moving.
Yeah.
Because you're right. That 15 feet matters.
It does.
It really does. I watched. I'm like, because Desiree was asking me because we were at the beer house right across from T-Mobile Arena. She's like, "Why are they not? They're not moving." I'm like, "They got to conserve energy."
Yeah, that rink
it's huge.
It's 14 feet wide compared to NHL.
And she's like, "But I feel like they're moving in slow motion." I said, "Well, they can't just go for these spurts. Their changes are fewer and farther between, and it's farther to get to the bench. And if you go to the bench and they go on a run, you could lose that game."
Yeah, based on one little breakaway like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you got to run them out there. Run them until there's a goal, dude. Somebody's. Yeah. That being said, the shootout was amazing.
Oh, it was. For a gold medal match going into a shootout, that was probably one of the better ones.
But yeah, I don't agree with it as far as deciding a gold medal. But hats off to the women. Both teams, Canada, they played their hearts out, and that double deke or triple deke at the end.
Oh, that was disgusting.
So gross. If you haven't seen it, you got to Google that. What was her name? Jocelyn Lamoureux?
Yeah.
It was one of the Lamoureux girls. I think it was Jocelyn. Just faked the shot, went left, and just the goalie did stand a chance. How often? I've never seen a triple move in like that.
I've seen a double move a few times.
Yeah, where you fake the shot and go left, but she faked the shot, went left, and then back right, and the goal was just wide open.
It was wide open, but, I mean, the goalie, for how short she was, actually made a good attempt at it to cut down the angle.
To get back on it, yeah, she still did. But, I mean, when you're a professional like that goal's wide open.
Oh, that Canadian goalie is actually considerably short compared to all the other women goalies.
Is that true?
Yeah.
That sounds sexist. But she played really well too. I will give her credit.
I would say both those teams played a very good game.
Then you had Chloe Kim winning a gold medal at 17 years old on the snowboarding. That was pretty cool to see. Shaun White obviously has become probably one of the most decorated and greatest Olympic athletes in U.S. history.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that was. What are your thoughts on him? A lot of people have issues with him because of a lot of things he did in the past when he was kind of an immature kid. I tend to not really take a lot of stock in something a kid who's something a guy says when he's 23, 24, and now he's 10 years later. Is it really fair to hold somebody accountable like that when they're an immature kid? If down the road. I know. I mean, I get it. Everybody's in the limelight, and you have to be. Somebody, you have to, go somewhere, wake up, pay attention, etc. But I just feel like, something I said, I would hope something I said when I was 18 is not still being held over my head at any point in my life.
Yeah. I think some people overreact to it and all that, or look at the past too much and hold people against it for that. And
it's just the general hate.
Yeah.
Hating on somebody.
Yeah, especially if they're that well-rounded of a athlete or a politician or something around those lines.
Well, yeah, politicians, they get dragged up from shit from 40 years ago. Anyways, but what else was going on there? Canada this morning, the Canadian men's team not medaling in
curling.
They're not going to curling or hockey. They're not going they're not going to get the gold. So the Canadian hockey teams are not getting gold in either of the men's or women's events.
That's a big disappointment.
What else was going on?
Canadian lost the bronze medal match to Switzerland in curling. That was earlier today.
The Canadians lost what?
Canadian lost the bronze medal match for curling.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. So they didn't even medal.
Yeah, actually, United States is in the gold medal match for that.
Yeah, that's tonight, I believe. Right?
Yep. 4:35 Eastern Time, 1:35 local time for us against Sweden. We have a shot.
You gonna watch it?
I will try. Yeah. I actually watched quite a bit of curling the other night. I was watching Great Britain and Sweden.
How does curling work as far as scoring? Is it just like shuffleboard, basically?
It's similar. My buddy was trying to explain it to me. He says the closest rock to it is called the shot rock, and then the next closest rock is, if it's yours, you get another point. If not, then you only score 1 point. So it goes based on closest to the middle, pretty much.
Right. So it's not like the outer rim is 1 point, 2 points?
No.
Is it more like cornhole? If you knock a rock off, you take their point away?
You potentially could. It depends where the rocks are at and all that. If you have the shot rock, the max score in curling per end is 8.
2 per rock? Because they throw one per rock. Yeah, they throw 8 rocks, right?
8 rocks, but that's very unlikely.
Right, of course.
And actually, we saw one end that ended in 5 the other day. That was pretty high.
Yeah, I saw.
That was Great Britain against Switzerland.
Yeah, there was one where like the Korea and China played each other, and one of them got out to like a 6-0 lead, and the other one came all the way back. I can't remember exactly what it was. That's just crazy.
Yeah. And the curling, if the team's actually out of it and they can't possibly come back, the match is over. They don't. So
there's
continue.
kind of a skunk rule?
There is, or you could automatically forfeit if you're like so far behind to prevent embarrass yourself even worse.
I feel like I'm at the Olympics. I'm going to finish the job. It's like the Jamaican bobsled team when they crashed. It was like they had to finish the race.
Yeah. Well, if you're mathematically out of it, they automatically call it, though.
Gotcha.
Because it takes a while for.
They don't want to waste time.
Yeah.
They don't want to delay people who get bored of it, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot. I tell you what, there's a lot of people who don't get bored. It's definitely. I think it's an interesting sport because a lot of people are like, I could do that, but it's harder.
There's a lot of finesse in it.
Sure, but I mean, let's look at that one guy. What was his name? Matt Hamilton. Let's say he's not in athletic shape.
Yeah.
And his sister, they're not in the most athletic shape. So I think a lot of people believe that it's like, it looks like shuffleboard, and I could do it.
It'd be interesting to do that. I do want to adjust my work schedule where I do have a day off where I could do it out here.
Yeah, there are some curling. I got a buddy who's in a curling thingamabobber. Yeah. And they got some curling shit out here. It's pretty
Yeah,
pretty
and they actually improved. And
for being in the desert, we got a lot
of
ice sports out here.
Yeah, moving on up. What's our next ice sport?
Yeah, exactly. Well, closing ceremonies are wrapping up with all that and the Olympics, and it'll be an interesting gold medal match with OAR and Germany. And how about I just tweeted it out recently, the bobsledder from Russia who wore an anti-doping shirt just tested positive for dope. You can't make it up, man. You can't make this stuff up.
It's very ironic. I think he wore it just to single himself out.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's just crazy to me. It's just like, what? Anyways, I want to get back into baseball just for a second because a buddy of mine, we're having a conversation at work, and he told me, basically, I'll get your thoughts. He asked me if Ichiro Suzuki was a Hall of Famer, and I said yes. And he and I proceeded to have a long conversation. He clearly disagreed with that. Mm-hmm. I want to get your thoughts before your initial thought on that, something like that.
I would agree, yes, as well.
Right? That's what I'm saying. I didn't want to tell him he was crazy, but it was like, I think Ichiro is one of the best hitters of all time in baseball, just in America.
Not including his
time in Japan.
His international league. His batting average was.
Could you imagine how many hits he would have had if he played here? He played at a top level his whole career here?
He might have surpassed Pete Rose. Might have.
That would be crazy, wouldn't it?
I know, including his international career, he surpassed Pete Rose, but.
Right.
I don't really consider that as.
No, you can't. You can't consider that a.
Yeah.
But we are talking. Is it the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame or is it just the Baseball Hall of Fame?
I would say MLB Hall of Fame.
Is it just Major League, the one in Cooperstown? I don't know. We have to check that out. Because, the Basketball Hall of Fame is not the NBA Hall of Fame. The Hockey Hall of Fame is not the NHL Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is not the NFL. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I don't know if it's just specifically Major League Baseball.
It says National Baseball Hall of Fame.
So I feel like...
History of America's pastime.
So is it just America? Because I don't feel like we put a lot of foreign players in there, especially from the Japanese leagues, because they always try to come over here. What about Matsui? Was Matsui a Hall of Famer, you think? Hideki Matsui?
I would lean towards no.
No? Okay. He'd
be one that would be on the fence.
He's probably one of the better power hitters to ever come out of Japan. Yeah. But anyways, Ichiro, I mean, like we were having that conversation. He's like, no way. He's like, he didn't hit for enough power. I'm like, first of all, he hit for average. He got on base. He was a great leadoff man. He had a good arm in the field. And I would say of outfielders, he told me he wasn't a good enough winner. And I can understand that position, but I don't know if necessarily that's a be-all, end-all. Because how many guys do we know? I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. wasn't a winner. He never won World Series. He won, I don't think he won any playoff series except for 95 with the Mariners when they went to the ALCS. Other than that, I don't think he ever went to a World Series. I'm 100% sure Ken Griffey never went to a World Series.
I would say Ichiro's in, not what he did just on the field, but also as an ambassador for the sport, too.
Right, ambassador for the game. He introduced us, at least in my generation, introduced us to international players.
I always enjoyed watching him.
Him and Hideki Arabu. Remember Hideki Arabu for the pitcher for the Yankees?
Yeah.
Those two were the first international players from Asia or from Japan, that area, that I really remember.
Yeah.
Who created such a transcendent...
To open up the market, kind of.
I mean, look how many people come up. Daisuke, Hideki. God, now we got Shohei Ohtani, Yu Darvish.
Yeah.
Yao Ming.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that was basketball.
Yeah. He could have probably played baseball.
Yeah.
He would have a large strike zone.
Would he be the bat? He'd probably be the foul pole.
He'd be an outfielder.
Yeah, I don't think he was very fast. Anyways, point being is, I don't know. I wanted to bring up that conversation. I wish Spike would have been here too, because I know he's a baseball guy and he would have had some good insight. So,
yeah, I would definitely put him in. No doubt about it. I mean, yeah, like your buddy was saying, his slugging percentage and stuff like that was not that great, but I mean, his on base percentage was pretty above average.
What was his on base percentage?
.355.
It's pretty good for a leadoff hitter.
Yeah. .312 regular batting average.
That's really good.
Almost 10,000 career at-bats.
How many hits?
3,080.
So he had 3,000 just in the Major League Baseball alone. And how many, do you have Baseball Reference there? How many he had in Japan?
I want to say it was close to 2,000.
Well, yeah, it had to have, how many hits did Pete Rose have? 5,200, something like that? Pete Rose's. I'll check out Pete Rose's.
I thought it was like 4,800 for Pete Rose.
Pete Rose's hits. Let's see. Pete Rose had 4,256. Yeah, I got my numbers dyslexic. So 4,256, and if he would have played, he would have definitely gotten past Pete Rose's. Because we had
or pretty damn close, yeah.
Well, that's what? That's 1,000. That's 1,000, almost 1,200 hits. And how many did we have? How did he have in Japan? Because he didn't come over. Ichiro didn't come over until. I would say he was like 27 or 28. Let's see. I'm going to look up Baseball Reference right now because I know you all are dying to know Ichiro's stats.
Yeah.
Hey, he still had over. I didn't think he had 100 home runs in his career.
Oh, yeah. He barely eclipsed that.
So he came over in 2001. And he is how old? He's 44. So 2001 was 17 years ago, so he would have been 27 at that point. So he came over here when he was 27 years old.
Yeah, 1,378 in foreign, or 1,278. 1,278 in the foreign.
So he would have
Japan.
He would have passed.
Yeah, he had 3,858 total, including his international, and a total
You mean the 48-58?
43.58.
43-58 is what he would have had?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 26 total seasons.
Yeah, so I mean...
And actually in the Japan League, he actually wasn't that... I mean, his batting average was better, but his stats per season, just based on the season length, he probably would have easily surpassed Pete Rose if he would have played all 26 in the MLB.
Yeah, I have to get this here real quick because I'm trying to look at averages. And
well, his batting average in the foreign was 353.
No, I mean, I'm looking at... Okay, so Baseball Reference, Ichiro, over a 162-game average for his career. So that's kind of how they break it down.
Okay.
He averaged 189 hits a year, and Pete Rose averaged 194 hits a year in 24 years of baseball in the MLB versus 17 years for Ichiro. So if you actually probably shake it out over 24 years, he actually had a higher 162 game average of actual hits per season.
By 5.
Yeah, and his batting average is actually 162 game average is 312, and Pete Rose is only 303. So I mean, that's over the long run, that's splitting hairs. Mm-hmm. It's not much, but I mean, you figure he played how many years in
9 seasons.
9 seasons. So he played 26 years in in professional baseball, and Pete Rose only played 24. I got to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because I think over his like you said, his ambassadorship to baseball.
I would say that's a big piece of him getting him, but what he did on the field too, I would put him in.
He also won MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same season.
That's pretty damn impressive. What year was that?
2001. Yeah. That was when I think that was the 2001 Mariners that won like 116 games. 116 games under Lou Piniella. They had Brett Boone, Mike Cameron.
I remember it.
That's not even that good of a team if you look at it overall.
I actually think I do have a few Suzuki rookie cards for baseball.
Al Martin, God, I remember that guy. Jeez, I mean, I look at this team. I mean, this is a team that won 116 games. Dan Wilson at catcher, John Olerud at first base, Brett Boone, Carlos Guillen. He was a pretty decent shortstop.
Yeah.
David Bell, Al Martin, Mike Cameron, Ichiro, and Edgar Martinez.
Okay, good old Edgar.
Your pitching staff.
I can't wait to hear this one.
Freddie Garcia, who flamed out.
Yeah.
Freddie Garcia, who went 18-6.
It's pretty good for him.
Oh, absolutely. 24 years old. Aaron Seeley, remember him?
Yeah.
Went 15-5.
Damn.
Jamie Moyer was a 20-game winner that season. 20-6. Remember Jamie Moyer?
Yeah.
The lefty who freaking threw the ball. A bathtub ran faster than his ball.
Yeah, it was like 75 miles an hour curveballs and
Paul Abbott and Joel Pinheiro. Wow. It just doesn't strike me as a team. I thought Brett Boone was on that team. Oh, I did say Brett Boone.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, he was on second, right?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Who was on second, yeah.
It just doesn't strike me as a team that would win 100. I mean, you would think like the Yankees teams in those eras would win fucking 116 games, but
no, it was Seattle.
Yeah. But that year he won All-Star Game MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same season. But I think he's a Hall of Famer. So, Well, let's talk about an issue that's been kind of coming up lately, and I posted a poll that got surprisingly interesting results. And I'll ask you before I reveal the results of the poll is, do you have a problem with teams in the major sports publicly tanking?
Well, you know it's going to happen. But coming out and announcing it, saying there's no sense of us winning and ruining ourselves any further.
So it got a total of 8 votes. And it is deadlocked 50-50.
50-50? It can go either way.
It could go either way. That's what I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, I mean, they don't. The thing that makes me laugh is when they don't come out, or when they come out and are like, "Yeah, we're trying hard every game," but
and they're losing by 30.
Clearly tell
they're using by 30.
I don't know.
They're keeping it close just to get some butts in the seats.
Yeah,
maybe.
To me, the problem I have with tanking in some of the leagues is like the NBA and the NHL. It's like, okay, you tanked, great. You're still not guaranteed the first pick.
No, I know. Yeah, you have that lottery.
Yeah, I mean, the way the lottery. I don't like the way the lottery works per se. But I think it does kind of eliminate some of that. Like, if the teams outside the top 3 don't win the lottery, they still stay in their relative order based on record.
Yes.
So, it's a weird one to me. I mean, I guess I don't have a huge problem with it. It just, to me, it seems like the lottery. Once I finally figured out how it actually worked, for the long time, I literally thought they were just pulling balls. I think they should pull balls for all those picks. If you don't make the playoffs,
oh yeah,
if you tank, you could end up 15th or however many. If there's 30 teams and 16 make it, you could end up 14th. I think that'd be awesome. That. Yeah, I think every single team that misses the playoffs, although that may encourage more tanking.
Yeah,
Because if you're on the fence and you're like, okay,
Yeah, give the first place even a little higher percentage of making it. Or
well, no, you should keep the same percentages. If you're
really?
no, I think if you're the worst team, you should have the most percentage.
Yeah.
But the worst team doesn't always get the number one pick.
Yeah.
I think they should come a little bit closer in percentages. But yeah, I mean, make it so, hey, yeah, okay, you guys want to tank? That's fine. You could still end up with the 14th pick.
That'd be
How
dirty.
great would that be? I think
that'd be awesome though. But that would be dirty. I like it.
Well, I mean, if like freaking Mark Cuban got roasted by his own fucking league.
You have a team facing another team to make the playoffs, and they still end up with the first pick of the NBA draft because they lost that game.
Well, no, playoff teams would get seeded after the lottery.
Team trying to play in the last game of the year and they lose out, or they lose that.
They miss the playoffs by one game and then they get the first pick. But
that'd be funny.
That's almost rewarding them for playing hard.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Hey, look, you just miss.
Well, in the day we're in now, I mean, we give people participation trophies and stuff like that now.
Yeah,
so
give participation trophies, first picks in the draft.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that could be an interesting scenario. It's never going to happen, but interesting thing would be, hey, look,
I like it.
Every team that misses the playoffs, they could figure out mathematically the formula for it, or even if they wanted to keep it like it is, the 1% chance or whatever.
Yeah,
there's still.
It's roughly about 7.2% shot of if you average it altogether. Give the worst team about 10%. The team that was closest to making the playoffs, give them about 5% or something.
I think the draft lottery, at least in the NBA, the way it goes. The worst team, I believe, is still only like 15% or something like that.
Well, you can make it more even between all 14, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it would encourage teams to actually be competitive.
Yeah.
Because if you have such a problem with the tanking procedures...
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm trying
to... They kind of punch the thumb, yeah.
So, right now as it stands... What does this mean? Right now as it stands... Phoenix would have the biggest percentage
of getting the first pick.
Of getting the first pick, yeah. But I'm trying to find out actually the odds, the percentage odds. So. Okay, here it is. I have it. Actually, the worst team would get a 25% chance to win the top pick.
Oh, okay.
And a 65% chance to get a pick in the top 3.
Oh, okay.
So every year it's...
And they can't fall out of the top 5, right? Is that how it works?
Well, they would get the 4th pick if they didn't win one of the top 3.
Oh, okay.
Because they had the worst record.
Oh, okay.
Because 4 through the rest are seeded by your record.
Oh, okay.
At least in the NBA. And I believe that's how they do it. Yes, it's how they do it in the NHL too.
Oh, yeah.
So, last year, Brooklyn was terrible.
Yeah.
And... they ended up having to give the Celtics their pick. So the Celtics made the Eastern Conference Finals and ended up having, I think, the 3rd pick in the draft.
Yeah, it was something like that.
So they had a 25% chance to get the top pick. Can't believe we're talking basketball. And then they had a 65% chance to get a top 3 pick. The worst team, which would have been the Miami Heat last year, had a 0.5% chance to get the top pick and a 1.6% chance to get a pick in the top 3.
Oh, okay.
So if you actually did bring that scale a little closer to, say, a situation where...
A team that doesn't make the playoffs, too.
A team that doesn't make the playoffs goes down to about 19% or even 15% and bring up the teams like Miami, Denver, Detroit from last year, etc. Bring them up to 5 to 8%. I think you could see a lot more teams. Maybe that's not even enough. Maybe you'd have to get more closer, but something to get encouraged. If you're a business, if you're the NBA, if you're the NBA and you have a problem with tanking, the way to do it is to make the lottery closer to it. I get the point of the draft. It's to make worse teams more competitive, but not with a lottery system. It doesn't seem to work for me with a lottery system at that point. So I think if you really want to see a competitive league, because let's face it, the NBA is not competitive, and that's why a lot of people turn it off, myself included. If you want to see a more competitive thing, encourage these guys to fight. Hey, if you fight for trying to make the playoffs, or maybe you're onto something. Maybe if you fight for trying to make the playoffs, there should be a reward in that.
Yeah.
Maybe give every single team that missed the playoffs somewhere between a standard deviation of 5 to 8%.
Yeah. Well, the average for all 14 teams would be 7.14%. for those. So if you make the team with the worst record closer to 10 and the last team
closer to 5.
Yeah, right around 5, that would be right around that number. I know who's the commissioner. Is it Silver?
Yeah, Adam Silver.
I heard he kind of tossed out an idea. I'm not sure how serious this is or whatever, but for the playoffs, take the top 8 teams in each conference and then reseed them based on the records.
So it's not the top 16 records overall; it's just the top
8 from each conference, like how it is right now. But then reseed it and get rid of the conference's playoff time. What would your thoughts be on that?
I thought I'd heard it differently, but I think now that I'm reading it, you're right. I thought I heard they just take out the conferences and just give the top 16 teams, which right now would lean more towards
the West game more.
West.
Be like 10-6.
The worst team is Miami. Would play Houston based on this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess that could work. I think it would create a lot more travel than they necessarily need. I think that's why conferences exist.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it.
I mean, it's an interesting idea to kind of put a stir on things. And you could have a East-West matchup first round and even throughout the entire playoffs.
Well, like right now, Toronto is the 2 seed. Mm-hmm. No, they're not. They're the 3 seed. They'd be the 3 seed. So you'd have Houston versus Miami. And then you'd have Golden State versus Philadelphia.
Actually, yeah, Toronto would be the 3 overall.
Yeah, Toronto's 3 overall. I don't know. I don't follow enough basketball to really care, but I mean, what did he propose? What would he propose the positivity of that? Giving it doesn't. I don't think it makes the East any stronger. In fact, I think it makes the East weaker.
Yeah.
Now they've got to go play potentially Western Conference opponents,
or the Western Conference would kind of knock each other out like how they have been and gang up on the East.
Yeah,
I don't know. It would be a stir on things. It would make it more interesting for me to watch playoff basketball, I guess. But
I feel like I would like it more in hockey. I would take away conferences and divisions
and make it 32 teams.
When it's 32 teams, you play 93 games, everybody 3 times, 2 home, 1 away, then you flip the next year. So you play. So you got a Detroit Red Wings jersey on, and I'll just use Vegas.
Yeah.
You play Vegas twice at home, and then once here in Vegas.
And then the next year
you
once
play once in Detroit and twice in Vegas.
I like that idea.
And then you basically play 93 games, so we're adding 10 to eliminate the field, thin the field in half.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take the best 16 records, regardless of where they are, and then go from there. I think it would be great in hockey.
Like I said before,
I'm not a huge fan of hockey's playoff format currently.
I'm not either. I'd rather see them keep the 2 conferences, but get rid of the divisions.
Yeah, and now NBA is discussing like play-in games to determine seedings and stuff.
No, I don't like that.
The one thing the NBA does not need is more regular season games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think all these sporting associations are in some weird spots right now. They're trying to beef up their games, and
some of them
don't need to, and some of them really need to, and they all seem to kind of be like battling for position on who can make the craziest, outlandish changes to their game.
I think baseball is winning the one that potentially could.
That could revolutionize baseball, whether it be for positive or negative. I don't know.
It depends what crazy shit they come up with.
But I think the NHL should kind of take a look at that. I know why they do it. It's for TV revenue, creating the Eastern Conference matchups and the Western Conference matchups, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, I wonder if creating a situation where all the teams, regardless of conference, you seeded it that way in the NHL. Mm-hmm. Right now, Vegas is number 2. Yeah, Tampa Bay is the number 1 overall seed.
Boston would be 3rd.
Right, I'm just looking at who would Tampa Bay play. Would they still play Columbus? Or would they play...
I think they would
play Columbus.
Okay.
And Vegas would play St. Louis. But then Boston would play Minnesota in the first round. That could create an interesting matchup.
That would be.
Does it create a matchup better than Boston-Toronto, though?
Probably not.
Right. So it's tough to go around. I mean, that's too drastic of a thing. I know why they have obvious conferences and divisions. It's to create rivalries and create revenue in those markets, and I'm fine with it. I just think a lot of these potential the playoffs is not really a spot where you need to improve, especially in the NBA. Their problem is the regular season, because why we play a regular season when we know there's probably 3 teams with a realistic possibility of making the finals, maybe 4. As much as Toronto's the number 1 seed, everybody's all over Cleveland's dick.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe Boston. And everybody's all over Golden State. Maybe Houston. There's 4 possible teams. I don't like the fact it's the only one of the 4 major sports where I can sit there and go, there's probably an eighth of the league that's going to have a realistic shot at winning a title this year. Can you say that about any of the other 3 leagues?
No. Like, even football,
yeah, the Patriots get there.
But they don't always win.
But they don't always win, and there's a team on the other side that you really didn't expect a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So
whether it be like a Philly or Minnesota or New Orleans or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle made their run,
Yeah.
I know we talked about one time the dominance of Manning, Brady, and Roethlisberger, but essentially there's still a lot of parity in the NFL as far as, I mean, the Patriots have made the AFC Championship 7 times in a row. I think they've played 5 different opponents. I think they played Baltimore twice and Denver twice. So they played, 5 different opponents.
Yeah, they played Jacksonville. They've played...
They played the Jets one time when they lost. Not the Jets. Baltimore when they lost one time.
Mm-hmm. Broncos, Jacksonville.
They played the Steelers.
Yeah.
So... I don't know. It's just the crazy thing is like the last thing the NBA needs to be doing is adjusting their playoff format. It's really there. So you have Patriots Jags, Patriots Steelers, Patriots Broncos, Colts, Broncos Ravens, Ravens Steelers. Okay, so maybe only 4 teams.
Oh, okay.
But still, I mean, so you got 4 teams. So they play 4 different teams, and the NFC's always been kind of all over the place, but. Yeah, the last thing the NBA needs to be doing is fucking with their format of the playoffs. They need to figure out how to fuck with the format of their regular season. A lot of people, from what I hear, don't care about it. So, what else were we talking about? We had some other shit on the docket. What about some trades in hockey? Because I know the trade deadline's Monday, if I'm not mistaken. There's already been a little bit of movement. Your boy Mrazek from Detroit.
Went to Philly, yeah.
Went from a backup goalie in Detroit to the man in Philly.
I think that was a good trade on Philly's part.
I think it was, too, to get a guy with starting experience, especially since Neuwirth and Elliott are both out for quite the foreseeable future. And Philly's actually a playoff team right now. They need somebody to kind of step in there. Yeah, you know Mrazek.
If the playoffs started today, they would play Pittsburgh.
Well, if any one of the 2 people in this room know Mrazek, it's going to be you.
Yeah.
So... What are your thoughts on this trade overall?
I think Philly got what they needed, and they needed a goalie that could start right now and get them potentially deep into the playoffs, too. So, yeah. I mean, Mrazek's got some playoff experience. He does let in a few cheap goals, but I would say overall he's a pretty strong goaltender. And
let's just hope they don't play the Lightning, right? Isn't that Mrazek's kryptonite?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I've seen a few games with Mrazek. Feels like he plays some Matador defense when they're around.
plays the puck badly behind the net.
Yeah, so Bruins got defenseman Nick Holden from the fire sale that is the New York Rangers. I expect the Rangers to be making more moves, but they got a kind of a bruiser in Holden. The Bruins also traded Frank Vetrano, who didn't really work out. In Boston in his time there. They traded him to Florida for a 3rd-round pick. I actually kind of like that in next year's draft, because next year's draft is shaping up to be pretty pretty heavy with prospects, even down in the third round.
Trade deadline ends on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, so 26th. So then 3 days pretty much left.
A move that's not going to happen, actually, is Goodbranson from Vancouver. He's not going to get moved. They actually re-signed him. They actually re-signed him recently, a couple days ago, to a 3-year extension. So that's kind of a guy I thought Vegas would have a shot at getting a piece of.
What's your thoughts on Ottawa trying to sell right now and maybe potentially getting rid of Erik Karlsson?
As far as what? I mean, like, your thoughts on who was going to take him? I don't think anybody's going to pay the price for Erik Karlsson, especially when he's going to be a free agent next year. I don't think anybody should pay the price who's a realistic contender.
I actually see one thing that Tampa Bay's actually might pursue him.
I don't know what they'd have to give up. They'd give up. Vegas should not. They don't have this. No. They don't have the draft picks in too early of a franchise to really pursue a guy like Karlsson, and I think it would cost too much for them. Tampa could go all in with a guy like that as a rental because they're still under contract for next year.
Yeah.
And if they can keep the big core intact, the question is at what price? Are you going to have to give up Braden Point for him? You're going to have to give up. I mean, you're not giving up any defenseman for a defenseman. No. That's pointless. You're not going to give up Sergachev. You're not going to give up Hedman. You're not going to give up Stamkos and Kucherov. If they can find a way to get him without killing the core, then absolutely. I just don't think that's the case, though. I was kind of hoping Vegas would go after Michael Grabner, but he went yesterday for a second-round pick, and I don't know who the prospect is. Oh, yeah, I do. It's a defenseman who's currently in the KHL, so he may never make the jump over here. So basically, Grabner to the Devils for a second-round pick. I feel like Vegas could have pulled the trigger on that one, so missed out on an opportunity. He's over to New Jersey. That's a big pickup for New Jersey. A guy who scored 25-plus goals for the playoff push, which I expect them to make as well. So, yeah, I mean, Rick Nash is the biggest name out there. Nashville apparently loves him.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that, and actually that would be a piece that Nashville might need to make to make that potential deep run into the West and potentially into the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, they definitely don't need too much help. But if they can get Rick Nash, I'd be interested to see Vegas kind of kick the tires on Ryan McDonough, take a shot at him. I don't know what he would be asking for. He's signed for one more year. His cap value is only like $4 or $5 million.
Yeah.
We have a lot of defensemen, but we have a lot of average defensemen.
Yeah.
So I think he would instantly make us better. Hopefully maybe we could ship off some of the young defensemen. The thing I like, we have so much money coming off the books with Vegas that I really want to take a strong, hard run at Tavares next year or in the offseason. Whether it's realistic, who knows?
I could see it being realistic, but whether that happens or not, can go either way.
I mean, Karlsson next year is going to be the biggest free agent if he doesn't re-sign to a long-term deal.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But I have a hard time believing – I think it's 50-50. I think I have a hard time believing anybody's going to want to pay the exorbitant price that Ottawa expects today. Next year's trade deadline, maybe he might – but he'll be a rental player at that point.
Yeah.
If you're making a move for him, you're either knowing he's a rental or you got to expect that he wants to come to your destination.
And play long term, yeah.
I would like to see one of or both of John Gabriel Pageau or Derek Brassard come to Vegas. Both of those guys. Brassard's a playoff, tested player, and Pageau's pretty good third or fourth line center, and that's where Vegas is lacking. Is kind of in the third and fourth line areas. Cody Eakin to me has been pretty shitty.
Yeah, though he had a goal the other day right off the faceoff. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was a pretty sweet shot.
Yeah. I actually didn't even see it going in at first. I actually thought there was a fight instead of a goal. The crowd cheering.
The asking price that's been going around for Rick Nash is a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a top prospect, and another lesser player. That's really a lot for a guy who, Rick Nash is what, 33, 34?
33, yeah.
So that's a lot to ask for a guy who probably not going to be around.
This year, it'd be a 7.8 cap hit. So, I mean, you just take that the rest of the way.
But you look at this. 2 years ago, the Blackhawks got the same exact package: a first, a second, a player for now, or a top prospect for now, and a lesser prospect. They got the same for Andrew Ladd. And the Minnesota Wild, to acquire Martin Hanzal last year, gave up the exact same package: a first, a second.
So it's been done before, but
yeah, that's the problem with.
But who would realistically this time around do that? I don't see Nashville parting ways with that much.
If they think that that's what's going to take him over the top is another wing scorer, I just don't know where you put him in that. I mean, you got to put him on the second line more than likely in Nashville. He wouldn't be he's not a good fit in Vegas.
No.
I don't know of anybody else who's really in the hunt. I mean, when I say I don't know of anybody, it's obviously everybody, but how much they're willing to give up. Washington doesn't need it. Pittsburgh's still buyers. Will they go for Rick Nash? I doubt it.
No, maybe Columbus.
Columbus, yeah. I mean, the thing is like the Islanders, I feel like they're out of it. I'm questioning what they're going to do over the weekend because they are literally
sell or just staying there.
Well, they're literally point for point even with Columbus for the 8th spot. Columbus has a game in hand.
Yes.
So they're not realistically out of it. Carolina's the same way. They're 1 point away from the playoff positions. My curiosity is going to be our teams like Carolina, the Islanders, Florida, and
maybe New Jersey,
Colorado. What are they going to do? Are they going to try to pick up a piece? They're 3 points out of a wild card. Los Angeles and Calgary are 1 point out of a wild card. Those are the teams I wonder if they're going to just blow their load and their entire farm system on guys who they think can get them into a wild card
and potentially deep run in the playoffs. Out of the teams that you just mentioned, I would see Calgary doing that.
I can see Calgary making a move. LA just traded traded their backup goaltender Kemper for Scott Wedgwood, and I forget the player. I have to look it up. They just traded Kemper, who was actually playing better than Quick, in my opinion, for a while there. They got Tobias Reeder and Scott Wedgwood. They actually picked up some decent pieces. Is it going to be enough? I don't know. I mean, Wedgwood's a fine. I think they wanted Reeder, but Wedgwood can play. Could be a backup to Quick. I got to think if the Kings really thought about a playoff move, if Quick went down, I feel like Kemper gave him such a good backup court. Like he was a number one goalie, playing like a number one goalie, kind of like Budaj was playing last year for them.
Yeah.
And so I guess we got Reeder and Wedgwood, and Wedgwood hasn't been bad. I don't think he's better than Kemper. So it's got to be a situation where they liked Reeder because they would have had to have paid Kemper a lot more. He was getting ready to be a free agent. He just signed a 2-year extension now in Arizona. So I think Kemper's going to get a really good start because I don't think Antti Raanta is the answer anymore in Arizona. So Kemper's going to get a good shot at becoming the number one goalie over there in Arizona. And something's got to stick for the Coyotes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at some point they got to be better than they are now. Maybe not. Who knows? But the Kings are getting a big. It almost feels like a trade as an addition to the team. But Jeff Carter's coming back for LA as well. That's going to be huge for them. He had 30-something goals last year. So it'll be interesting over the next couple days when the deadline comes around. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for this weekend show when we record. But any other thoughts? Any sports related?
Kudos to Alex Stuck for the Gordie Howe hat trick the other day.
There you go. Goal, assist, and a fight.
Yep.
So cool.
Yeah, actually, if we were recording yesterday, I wore my Howe jersey for that.
You wore your Gordie Howe jersey?
Yeah. Actually, I was walking around the strip yesterday, and a few people mentioned that.
That Tuck did it?
Yep. I'm like, that's exactly why I wore the jersey.
I was surprised of all the people that he got in a fight. I don't think he realizes how big he is, man. He's a big dude.
He is. It was actually a pretty good fight.
So, anyways, we're going to wrap it up here. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening, and we want to thank our sponsors once again, Chai Poker, chaipoker.net, 12-Ounce Sports Radio. We appreciate those guys over there for putting us on every week. Check them out at 12ozsportsradio.com, and also the Forward Mile Podcast Network. We are on over there. You can subscribe to their service at forwardmile.com. For Anthony, I am Aaron, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.